My name is David. Thank you for coming out tonight for the All Candidates Forum. Really pleased to be hosting this again. It's JCI Kootenay putting this on. JCI Kootenay is a youth leadership organization. We've been confused in the past as a not just a nonprofit, but a volunteer organization because of a lot of the stuff that we do in the community. But ultimately, it's leadership development for people between the ages of 19 to 40. We like to host a lot of things in the community and put on a lot of projects. And it's through working with those projects and working with the community on those projects that we develop leadership skills for young people. Start off with a quick land acknowledgement that, we are on the traditional lands of the Ktunaxa people. Tonight we are joined by Lee Pratt and Wayne Price, who's going to answer some questions for us this evening. We have a timekeeper up front to keep everyone in check. Other than that, I think we're pretty much ready to go. And we decided earlier on that Mr. Pratt is going to be starting first. How the format's going to work is we're going to ask a question, then there'll be a chance for a rebuttal, and then we'll move on and we'll just alternate candidates. A couple of very quick rules that I should probably go over first as well. We're asking that everybody remains respectful during the Q&A period. When they're done speaking, if they want to have a small applause, that's wonderful. Hecklers and disruptors will be asked to leave. Yeah. Okay. First question. Oh, introductions. Sorry. Introductions of our candidates first. Mr. Pratt, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Well, good evening and welcome, and thank you for attending the forum. Cranbrook has been my home for over 70 years. I have always been involved in many different groups and organizations. Recently, I was awarded the Queen Elizabeth Platinum Jubilee Medal. It acknowledges my many years of volunteering. I have over 50 years of successful business experience. The City of Cranbrook is a multi-million-dollar corporation, and we need a voice on council to make sound business decisions and get things done. Previous to 2014, large tax increases were forecast, possible service cuts, and frivolous spending of your tax dollars was occurring. The roads in town were a mess of potholes, and sewer and water lines were crumbling beneath them. Change was needed. I ran for mayor and promised if I was elected, change would happen. I promised fiscal responsibility to fix the roads and failing infrastructure and to create economic activity and jobs. Under my leadership and with the support of council, we delivered on all of these promises. Fiscal responsibility, we changed the budget process. Department managers must now present to council their want and how it fits the needs of the city's operations. No more frivolous spending. We have invested over $50 million and local contractors performed the work on over 80% of the projects. We continue to address our housing shortage. Over 500 doors have been built and presently there are 900 more in the queue. In 2020, $90 million and in 2021, $70 million of building permits were issued. These projects injected a significant amount to our tax revenues. The lack of affordable housing is a significant issue. I have been working with BC Housing, the Aboriginal Housing Authority, the Métis Housing, and the Quantum Housing. These are the groups who have funding or access to funding, and we need to work together. There were 844 tax-paying business licenses in 2014. Today we have over 1,800, an increase of almost 1,000 sharing the tax load. At even a low average of 3 employees each, that's an additional 3,000 paychecks in the local economy. Let me be clear. There are 3 separate issues we are dealing with: homelessness, crime, and addictions. Those who are homeless deserve our compassion, attention, and care. We need to work on a permanent solution. The solution starts with affordable housing. The province has to build new facilities and treatment centers to those with addictions, so those with addictions and mental illness can access the resources and services they need. Those who repeatedly break the law and have no respect for others deserve to be arrested and dealt with through the court system. Enabling the current behaviors with the lenient justice system and free drugs has been a complete failure. Here's a list of some of the accomplishments achieved over the last 8 years while I've been mayor. Idlewild Park, we decommissioned the dam and built a new one. We received 100% of the funding for the rebuild through federal and provincial government grants. Idlewild is a park now, is a jewel of the community. We formed partnerships with the Regional District, Rotary, JCI, College of the Rockies, and BC Fisheries to provide needed infrastructure there. We canceled the Tier 2 recreation fees, and this resulted in the Regional District contributing over $1 million toward various projects in the city. We partnered with Canfor, Paper Excellence, and BC Timber Sales for the wildfire mitigation to protect the southern boundary of the city. We fixed the engineering defects on the pool and roof of Western Financial Place. We invested over $50 million on road work, and we will continue to use funds from the annual 1% dedicated road tax. We have built two dog parks for our dog lovers. We converted the Kinsman tennis courts into pickleball courts and added more courts at Gyro Park. We worked with the hospitality industry to implement a hotel tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's that? That working? Good, thank you. My name is Wayne Price. I was born and raised in Cranbrook, and I'm a third-generation Cranbrookite. I'm a former firefighter, provincial fire commissioner, fire chief, and I'm currently city councilor. I retired as fire chief and ran for council in part because I felt changes were required at City Hall that I could no longer influence as a city department head. During this term, some changes have occurred. However, there is still room for improvement at the governance level. My life's work has been about serving the public and working to keep people protected and safe. I have 40 years firsthand experience working with all levels and facets of corporations in the community. I have effectively worked with teams of people to solve problems at every political level. I have 17 years experience working with the city's finance and budgetary systems. I have worked collaboratively for over 30 years with all levels of government of all political stripes. I believe this year, today, we're at a crossroads. The last few years, we have experienced growth and development, but we've also seen growth in homelessness and crime. This issue has quickly become the #1 concern of businesses and residents that I have been in communications with in the past 8 months. Ignoring it or blaming someone else will not solve the problem or reduce the effects of the problem. My #1 priority is a call for action in dealing with these problems. I've spent a career tasked with finding solutions to problems. I believe I have the experience, skills, and leadership qualities to take this on. My second priority is to provide inclusive, transparent leadership to council, the corporation, and the community. I will foster an environment of trust and respect with council, an environment where members of council can truly trust my word and my intentions, where they are encouraged to contribute freely and to their fullest so that the best decisions can be made for our community. An environment where, if the mayor knows, council knows. A council where all members of council have the same and equal information. I do not believe in or do the special group within the group club. I believe that the city must do a better job communicating with the public. This must start at the top. Any successful business, organization, or leader realizes that communication can make or break success. We need to be better. We need to start explaining not just what we are doing, but why we are doing it. We need to be 100% open, honest, and transparent with the public. We need to ensure the record is straight on contentious issues, not fan the flames or silently watch things fester. I believe my past successes in management and business transformation are, in large part, due to effective communication. I believe my values, communication style, and expectations are well suited to set the tone and deliver the message from the top. We are in a time when we have and are facing unanticipated changes and challenges in addition to homelessness and crime. Such things as COVID, housing shortages, increasing interest rates, supply chain availability, exorbitant product increases.
That's time, Mr. Price.
What's that?
That's time, yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, well,
Well, those were two really great introductions, and I think we got, yeah, that's another round of applause for what's going to be an engaging night. Now we're going to move into some Q&A. Everyone had the opportunity to submit questions beforehand. They're going to be randomly selected. Each candidate's going to get 3 minutes, and then 3 minutes to respond. And yeah. Mr. Pratt, how are you going to address the needs of low-cost housing?
Well, as I mentioned, low-cost housing, or what you want to call affordable housing, is definitely a need in Cranbrook. But what has to happen is we need somebody to subsidize it. There's no local contractor or any contractor in Canada right now could afford to build affordable housing with the price and costs that are needed for materials and labor alone. So what I have done, as I mentioned, I've been working with BC Housing, the Aboriginal Housing Authority, the Métis Housing, and Aquantum, and looking at ways that we can get some funding and have them get that funding and build affordable housing here in Cranbrook. And that is the first and foremost step to getting it. Once we get it, then it's up to the city, if we can, to make sure that it's built sooner than later. And we do that by removing the bureaucratic red tape stuff that is very sometimes difficult for contractors to negotiate through. I just received a letter today that the average for a building permit in BC right now is 13 to 14 months. In Cranbrook, we removed a lot of the red tape and bureaucracy, and we can do a building permit in probably 3 to 5 months. So that's another thing we have to do to make sure that affordable housing is attainable here.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes, thank you very much. Yeah, as Mr. Pratt said, certainly low-cost housing, you're not going to get the people that are built-in market housing that are going to jump in on that too quick. Let's be honest, the dollars aren't there, their profits aren't there for that. So we need to collaborate with the nonprofits who have access to government funding. But there's things we can do besides that. I think we need to consider some zoning and building department changes. Currently, you buy a lot, you're going to build a house, 65% of your house. You can only go up to 65% of your lot with your house. So you've got all this property that's sitting there, okay? I'm going to suggest we should be looking at maybe 10-foot setbacks from the front of the property, 10 foot from the back of the property, 5-foot setbacks on either side. Now you're going to utilize that larger space. If we do that, now you look what the area you've done for that building. And I'm also going to suggest that we go from a 30-foot height requirement in our bylaw to a 40-foot. It's really insignificant at the end of the day. And now you're building up, so you're going out and you're going up. And on that one lot, it's likely you can get 3 units on that one lot. And of course, the provincial government, what they're doing right now as well, is they're suggesting that it's going to be just standard. Any R1, which is usually a single-family dwelling on a house, single-family dwelling on a lot, you will be able to put up to a duplex on there. So that fits perfectly with this plan of locally us doing a little bit of tweaking, certainly with our bylaw and our building departments.
Thank you.
Just the cost of those, if you're going to put 3 units on the one lot, $150,000 a lot, you're saving 2 lots. There's a $300,000 saving right off the top, right there. It's a start. It's something that the city can do to contribute towards a better, more affordable housing. Sorry. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So just a comment there, you still have to deal with the cost of the building. And it doesn't matter if you're building 1, 2, or 3 units, the costs are still very high. And I would also say that on the rezoning, we do that as quick as possible. But if you're paying $150,000 for a lot in Cranbrook, you're not going to want that zoned for affordable housing.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Price, what are your plans on how to beautify the city and maintain any improvements?
Thank you very much. That's an interesting one. A lot of people in here know, they probably see me out walking about around town. Since COVID, you know, I've been walking probably 4 to 5 days a week. I go into a different area of town every day, into different neighborhoods. I walk through the industrial parks, the downtown area, the Strip. And I'm going to tell you, beautify the city, we've got a lot of work to do. Interesting, you know, I walked by some of the residential areas, and we're starting as a community to look unkept, and it may be a result of COVID or whatever it is, but it's disappointing. We do look unkept out there. To drive around the uncut lawns, the brown lawns, you know, there's no pride. So I think we have to get a bit of a culture change, a mindset change in the community, a little more pride in what we're doing. That starts with the city. That starts with the corporation. Before we can, you know, influence certainly residents and business owners to take action on their properties, I think that the city has to look at what we've got to do. Our parks sometimes are unkept. We've had a number of complaints lately. And these are staff issues. I'm not blaming our staff, so let's really be clear on that. I'm not hitting our staff on that. We drive into town. The first thing you see is along the sides of the road where the pavement hits the concrete, or where you've got a meridian or an island, is you got the weeds growing, and they're not too bad for a while. And then you know what? A month later, they're 3 feet high. And I looked down one street, and I almost thought I was in LA. You know how the palm trees are down the boulevards? That's what our weeds look like along the corridor of our Strip there one week. I couldn't believe it, you know. And we've got to take that seriously, but we've got to start in the city. There's programs we can do. I know there's issues with the deer. The deer are causing a tremendous problem in the residential areas. People, I think, have tried to beautify their properties or keep their properties looking nice. So the deer are definitely an issue. Downtown, I think we still need buy-in from our local businesses. They've got a responsibility, I think, you know, I believe they have a responsibility to buy in and to make this city look as good as it can. I mean, think about it. The first contact to come in the city, you're coming up the Strip. Those businesses are the first ones that are going to be impacted by either a positive view or a negative view. So I think we can bring groups like Communities in Bloom. There's a lot, I've been talking to a lot of people in the last half a year, because this is a sore spot with me, and there's a lot of volunteers out there, young and old. that are really looking forward to doing something positive in the community, and they're saying, we need to fix the downtown. We need to fix our
That's time.
neighborhoods.
That's time.
That-
Yep.
Thank you.
Go ahead there, Mr. Pratt.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Mr. Price is saying, and I will say this too, that I think, and I'm not being disrespectful here, but there's a lot of businesses in Cranbrook that don't even look after their own entryways. You got to walk over weeds to get into their business, building business, you know, and that's what he says, like pride. We should start taking some pride in what our city looks like. As far as the city's role in this, we do have a number of people that working just on parks and everything, maintaining them, but we have a lot to maintain now. But the other thing is, we've had a couple instances where we've given cleanup rules and told the people that own the property to clean it up or else. But it's not that easy. It takes months for us to get that implemented. You can't just go in and do it. And it takes months, so it's not something that we have not ignored it, trust me. We've done a lot of work on it, but sometimes our hands are tied too.
Thank you. Mr. Pratt, what are your plans for the seniors of the community?
That's a good question. Did you give that to me because I'm the senior here? Well, you know, I truly say that the city, you know, our seniors are the people at the foundation of our community. And, you know, we're very respective of them, and we do have a number of programs in place that we do help the seniors out. The Seniors Pavilion, we support them with that. We do the friendly community. There's a number of organizations that have the easy to get around town, and we've done a lot of replacement on sidewalks and that for easier for seniors to get up and walk on them. And you know, really, all we can do is support them in the best we can to, you know, make quality of life more comfortable here for them. The other thing that we've done is we really went to bat for the places like Joseph Creek and Kootenai Street Village when they were looking to build. Now, I'll tell you, Kootenai Street Village, he came to us and said, you know, I'd like to build, but I need some rezoning and whatnot done. So we did that in 4 meetings. And he came to me after and said, I've been working on this in Cochrane for 2 years. This is amazing. He said, I can't thank the city enough. But now I have a problem. I don't know how big to build it because we were way ahead of his schedule. But those are the things that we can do to help the seniors is for the accommodation that is available for them.
Thank you. Mr. Price?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, certainly, Cranbrook, in the last probably 10 years, we've seen an influx of seniors. And I certainly think that trend isn't going to slow down any. We become a regional area. We become a regional health service area. So the regional hospital alone, what I'm seeing and the elderly people I'm talking to, we've got people coming in from Golden, Creston, Invermere, and they're coming in regular visits. You know, their doctors may be there, but they're having to come into this hospital on a regular basis. They hit a stage where they can't do the drive anymore. And I've talked to so many, they said, you know what, we just gave up on the drive when we sold our property and moved into Cranbrook because it was just too stressful or we're getting too old to be able to manage that. So certainly we need to consider the seniors, and there's going to be a growth in it. But I think that the big thing that we can do is try and keep a healthy community. Keep it safe. I think safety first for seniors, and then a healthy community. And by healthy, I mean we've got a lot of activities that, you know, we see the young people involved in. But you look at our seniors. Seniors are more active than they've ever been. And, you know, pickleball, I mean, there are people playing pickleball at 80 years old. So I think we gotta keep an eye on, you know, what types of activities, we've got to work closely with the seniors groups. What types of activities are they drawn to that we can support? You know, we've got a physical literacy group in Cranbrook, and I'm telling you, these guys have got something going here. And if we get going on that, I'd love to see that, you know what, that we're defined as one of the healthiest communities, you know, in Western Canada, because it can happen. Look what we've got here. Our outdoors and recreation, we got all the trails. We got seniors that are hitting these trails and walking regularly. They're down into the exercise equipment over at the Recplex there. You see them in our gyms. They're extremely active. And I think working with their groups and this physical literacy organization, I really think that we can bring a lot to the table and add to the quality of life in town here.
Mr. Price, what is the fate of our city campground?
The fate of our city campground. Oh yeah, here we go. Now it starts to get hot, right? Okay, no. Right now, the fate is undetermined. The last council, I believe, was looking at possible options. There were some proposals probably brought to council. That council has decided to basically put everything on hold and let this next council determine the future of the campground. What you're seeing out there right now is some surveying. That piece of property has never been designated. The land use designation has never been applied. It's been there since the early 1920s when they developed the park and whatnot, and they just did it without a designation. So all these years, it's basically sat there. We've got a seniors pavilion, or the seniors center there, on a piece of land with no land designation. The city just let them put it on there, being, you know, taking care of the seniors. Well, any property required to have, any buildings required to have a property and land designation. So that in itself, we had to do something there. So we've got some surveyors in surveying and plotting the areas there. And the land designation will be done by the next council after the survey is completed. I'm going to tell you my personal opinion, and some may like it and some may not. I believe that has been park space. It's been public space since almost the inception of Cranbrook. You know, if you go back when we were, when we were incorporated, and it's been a public park space or park. I don't feel that me as a councillor or me in a position representing the community have the right to change something and say, put commercial or residential building in there, when it's been like that for how many generations? And I think it needs to be reserved for future generations. It is a unique spot. It's not the prettiest right now, but it is a unique spot that we have in Cranbrook. Where do we have a waterway or any kind of a parkway near our downtown? You know, you go to the other cities and you see, you know, there's lakeside or riverside parks. Well, one day, make no mistake, when this town's 50 or 60,000, and it will get there one of these days, somebody's going to look back and say, my God, it would have been nice if we had a nice little park space right over here, and that will be close to our downtown core, 50 to 60 years to them. So personally, I believe we owe it to future generations to leave that as public space. Call it park space, call it, I'm saying public space, and allow the next generation to determine. Maybe they want a park, maybe they want to change the use for other public use.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank
you. So I know this is a touchy issue, but there's a number of things you have to look at. First and foremost, we are not taking all of that out of park. The part that's on 14th Avenue to the creek, we're putting that back into, it'll be in the park where the rest of the park was, where all the ice skating and that is in the winter. The top is being subdivided off for the seniors pavilion, but the rest of it, the bottom line is, it's not up to code. It's going to cost, we were estimated last year, $1.3 million to bring it up to code. At today's prices, it would be closer to probably $1.6 million. That's a 5% tax increase on your taxes just to support that. And it's a small number of units that go there. And what was happening, it was a lot of the units were monthlies by the snowbirds coming back with their big buses and that. It was a cheap place for them to stay and handy to downtown. we did a survey, our business development officer did a survey on what campgrounds actually contribute to the city. And the result is very little. They don't spend a lot of money in your city. I know everybody says it was close to downtown and they're spending money there. They're not, because they got everything they need in their units. So it boils down to, is that the best use of that land? And we have lots of park space in Cranbrook. We've got parks that we have to put into playgrounds that we don't have money to put the playground and equipment in them yet. And those residents in those areas are screaming to us for playground equipment. You know, to put playground equipment in now, you're looking at $150,000. So how can we justify putting $1.6 million into a campground that's going to hold maybe 60 or 70 units of people? And if you're looking at a return on investment, you're looking at a 40 to 50-year return on investment. At that time, it's going to have to be replaced again. So it just doesn't make sense from a financial responsibility that we have to owe the taxpayers. That's what some of our thoughts were on it to start with. And then, of course, we got some pushback from the residents, and rightly so. But a lot of the pushback we got were people that don't use it. They're people, I know there was a whole family, they all sent us letters. There isn't one of them use it. They have lake property. They never camp there. But that was their complaint. And so you got to look at the big picture and what does it give to the city? What is the return? And is it worth it? And it just doesn't work. There's no way you can make it look like it's a wise investment to put $1.6 million into it. And that's where the decision came. So we put out expressions of interest. We had a couple of good expressions, but we don't have the infrastructure there to service that right now. So that's on the plate for when we do our Storm and our Victoria Avenues projects.
Thank you. Earlier on, I gave Mr. Pratt an extra 10 seconds for a quick rebuttal there, so I'm going to extend the same courtesy to Mr. Price.
Thank you.
Now.
Yeah, quickly. Mr. Pratt mentioned that we've got lots of park space in Cranbrook. Well, trust me, it's scattered all over the peripheral of Cranbrook. So I don't think that really even compares to what we've got sitting down there. And secondly, we've got lots of developable land for commercial and residential development. Look around here. That doesn't have to need to be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Mr. Pratt, with the increasing crime and individuals with mental health problems in our little gem of a city, how are you going to support these individuals? And are you in support of hiring more RCMP and mental health specialists?
Could you repeat that?
Absolutely. That's a longer question than the last one. With the increase in crime and individuals with mental health problems in our little gem of a city, how are you going to support these individuals? And are you in support of hiring more RCMP and or mental health specialists?
It's a good question. It's actually a couple items in there. One, let me address first of all supporting the RCMP. COVID really affected our RCMP detachment, and we were a number of officers short pretty well all through it. But what we did do is we budgeted for 3 additional watch clerks. So now we have watch clerks at the RCMP office so that the officers don't have to do all the paperwork. They can get out on the street and do their job. So that's been a big move by this council, and it's been a big help to the RCMP, and they're very thankful for that. As far as what can I do for them, as I mentioned, it starts with affordable housing. We need affordable housing, and truly for the homeless people that deserve it and need it. Because right now what's happening, the homeless people that are really deserving are not going to the travel lodge. They're not staying there. They don't feel safe. So we need affordable housing, and we need affordable housing that has subsidized spaces in it so that the really poor people can still afford to live there or have a roof over their head. As far as the crime, I have no sympathy for the criminals. They deserve to be punished. And what's happened is our federal and provincial governments have got so lenient with the Crown Council's direction to turn them loose. There is no consequences. So how are we going to stop the crime when there's no consequences? And now the Attorney General Eby, who has now stepped down because he's going to be your next premier, appointed Mr. Murray Rankin as Attorney General. They asked a consultant to give a study on what is the effect of the crime, and his answer to that was he agrees. The answer is not to put them in prison or in jail. The answer is to keep doing what we're doing. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that that's not working. And I attended UBCM in Whistler for a week, and that was the number one, the conversation piece was healthcare, homeless, and crime, and drug addiction, and harm reduction. And there is no success stories out there. It is rampant throughout the whole province. What I could do with it, trust me, I'd love to be able to solve it, but I can't because my hands are tied. There is a solution, but it has to start with the Crown Council and giving the RCMP the right to incarcerate these people and arrest them and not just turn them loose.
Thank you. Mr. Price.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really, it bothers me sometimes when we lump together, the mental health and crime, or the drug and crime. Those are three really, really separate issues. So, when questions like this come up, I really wish they would send them out one at a time. What are you going to do with the mental health? What would you do with the crime? Because you're lumping them in, and then 3 minutes to answer a question, you're all over the place trying to answer the question. You can't do it justice. But in the short order, more RCMP, how effective are they going to be? I really don't know. They're having a lot of difficulty dealing with misdemeanor level crime. What I mean by that is the theft, the petty theft, and the vandalism that we're seeing with them guys down there. They're hanging around, the various parts of town. They don't have time to answer those calls. I'm suggesting that we could look at, and I don't want to blame and say somebody else has to take care of this problem. I think there's things we can do locally. I think as a city, we've got a bylaw department. I think, and for right now, your bylaw typically does, I would say reactive bylaw, but your dog's barking or you crapped on my lawn or there's a vehicle parked over here where it shouldn't be. Well, that's nuisance bylaw. We got more than nuisance going on. We got to redefine our bylaw services. And I think what we have to do is redefine it, and we have to build a bylaw program where we got bylaw working in shifts, afternoon and day shift, 7 days a week, kind of like our firefighters, and they're out there. And they go down to these problem areas and they patrol. We amended our bylaw some time ago to deal with the loitering and hanging around. They're not, these people are not supposed to be within 10 meters of a doorway of a business. They're not supposed to be within 10 meters of a drive-through. They shouldn't be 10 meters on the boulevards. Well, they are. Once they get set up, now we got a problem. If we got bylaw that goes into those areas and they're patrolling every day, they're active. They're providing a community service. They're going to be moving these people along. And trust me, those types of people doing the petty crime do not like to be watched and moved along. Secondly, as far as the police making arrests and taking it to Crown, that is not on Crown Council. I read Crown Council's arrest, conviction, and sentencing policy. It's quite a document. 20% of that policy deals with Aboriginals who are impacted by colonialism and disadvantaged. And disadvantaged people are considered to be people that maybe have excessive drug use, and they're not capable of making rational decisions anymore.
That's time.
Yeah.
That's time. Thank you. Okay, so we are now we're now at the section. I'll just confirm really quickly if we have time for more questions or if we're into closing statements. We're into closing statements. So each one of you now is going to get 3 minutes to discuss any topic that you like, something that you feel is important or was maybe missed over this evening that you didn't get with the random questions. I'll start with Mr. Price first. You've got 3 minutes to go.
Is this a closing remarks?
Closing remarks, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
yeah, beauty. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank the Cranbrook JCI for hosting tonight's session. So tonight you heard, and you'll hear again shortly, candidates' priorities and how they will deal with them if elected. You will likely hear that most of the issues and priorities are similar and that all candidates are prepared to deal with them. I think it's important for people to consider the methods or how the candidates will deal with them. I would urge you to consider candidates who use the word we and speak in terms of governance and team. One person is capable of solving, no one person is capable of solving the problems or single-handedly controlling the future of our community. Council decisions involving 7 members of council will be required to make informed decisions to move our city forward. And it requires leadership from all 7 members. Responsibility and leadership shared equally by all 7 members. There can be no king or queen of council. For me, the mayoral contest is about leadership. As mayor, I'll bring new and better level of leadership to the mayor's office and to the community. Leadership that understands the importance of fully informed council, whose input and ideals are valued and respected. Leadership that understands the importance of listening to and communicating with the community. Leadership that understands the importance of nonpartisan politics and understands the perils of partisan politics. Leadership that is committed to budgetary discipline throughout the corporation. Leadership that understands the need for community awareness and vibrancy. Leadership that supports and promotes responsible growth and development. Leadership that is solution-focused. And finally, leadership that will make sure the city is safe, resilient, and strong for years to come. Thank you.
Mr. Pratt, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. It has been an honor to serve the citizens of Cranbrook, and I'm very proud of the accomplishments over the last 8 years. Under my leadership, the last 8 years of councils has been very good. We've accomplished a lot of things, like I said. And I don't know what he means about partisan politics, because we all work together. We're all members of council for the same reason. We're trying to be better, make our community better. So there's more work to be done, and with your support, we will win this election and continue to move our city forward. I promise to continue to have meaningful conversations with all stakeholders, promoting affordable housing and improved health care. It is paramount to the safety of our community that we find solutions and improve the situations we are in today. Bureaucrats talk about setting up task forces, but all that amounts to is talk. Residents are demanding action, and I will continue to work towards solutions. I'm grateful to our community organizations who provide as much needed services, but they have now become overwhelmed and do not have the resources they need. It is the city's responsibility to provide services such as clean drinking water, sewer lines, garbage disposal, decent roads, RCMP, and fire service for the safety of our community. These services are getting very expensive. This is why it is important to encourage new development so we increase our tax base and avoid large tax increases. This is the reason I am pro-development and working diligently to attract new business and industry. I know it is essential that we have a prosperous, growing, and vibrant business community that contributes to the success of our city. You have my continued commitment to an open and honest approach to the management of the city. This is a civic election with a provincial government cause crisis at its center. We need the province to help, and I will continue to advocate on your behalf for that support. I will continue to prioritize the safety of our children and community over the repeat offenders and drug dealers who have caused Cranbrook's crime rate to rise. Barbed wire, rising crime in tent cities are not solutions that represent our community values. I will continue to listen to you and work hard to solve these difficult issues. Elections are about trust, choice, and accountability. If you would like 4 more years of a straightforward, honest mayor who listens and works hard to solve difficult issues and delivers on promises, then vote for me. Our community is demanding action, and I will not ignore their concerns. For more information and to keep informed, please visit my website at voteleepratt.ca. Thank you.
I think both of our candidates did a really excellent job answering in very short time some very dense, complicated questions. Let's get one more round of applause for both candidates, please. We're now going to start with city councilors. We're going to work our way from this side of the table down. We're going to start with some introductions first, starting with Wes Graham. And introductions are going to go down the table. It's going to be 2 minutes for each candidate to speak, and then we'll jump into the Q&As that we have. The format that we've set up is that there's going to be one question answered over a period of 1 minute, and then an opportunity for 2 rebuttals. Okay? And yeah, we'll start there. Wesley.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you, JCI, for hosting this forum. My name is Wesley Graham, and I'm running for my 3rd term on City Council. A bit about me: I was born and raised in Cranbrook, and my family's lived here since the 1900s. I currently work as an operations manager for a large farm overseeing over 250 employees. So I understand the complexities of labor and climate. I love this area and everything Cranbrook has to offer. When I was first elected, the big issue was roads. Over the past 8 years, we've invested over $50 million in our roads and pipes, and that investment continues. The last campaign, we had a major housing crisis, and since then, there's been over 500 new doors built of all types in our city: low income, affordable, market rent, single-family homes, as well as we changed the zoning to allow basement suites, again, getting out of the way so people could use their space as they saw fit. And right now, we have over 600 more doors in the queue. This is good news, and it couldn't have happened if we didn't put the investment in those roads and pipes. As I've been out this election talking to people, there are some common themes emerging, and some have been building for the past few years. Number one, the safety and security of Cranbrook and all its citizens. There needs to be some immediate action and some long-term solutions to deal with homelessness and the mental health crisis we are seeing. We need to lead the charge, and I hope to talk more about this as the night goes on. Number 2 is roads and pipes, and I'm committed to the continuation of the roads and infrastructure program. Number 3 is economic opportunities. With more housing also comes more opportunity for people to live and work in Cranbrook. We are seeing both public and private sector investment in our community, and I want to make sure this continues. And last but not least, housing. There continues to be a need for all types of housing, and I believe the city can play a big role in encouraging infill and density development in our core area. I look forward to tonight's conversation and answering the questions submitted. Thank you, and please vote Wes Graham.
Mr. Popoff, please.
Thank you. How am I sounding? Last time I was sounding a little light. Thank you, JCI, for your ongoing community service. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out tonight. My name is Ron Popoff. If elected, this will be my 3rd term on City Council, so that'll be 12 years in total. When I was in my first term, of course, as Councilor Graham said, we focused on fixing the roads. I think there was an explicitive associated with roads back in those days. We improved our relationships with our business community. Barriers to business was something we addressed. Among other things, as Mayor Pratt had said, we had made some major improvements back in the first term, and first and foremost, we kept the taxes as low as possible. Second term, we continued to fix the roads. As Councilor Graham was saying, a strategy to really work hard on housing, all housing, and to the point where we actually have hired, and that may need to continue to hire, more city staff to get the applications and the permits going faster so we can keep up with the record demand of permits and applications for housing and other development. Increasing downtown vibrancy will have a positive result for all Cranbrook by attracting more visitors. Sorry, that's the wrong script here. I'm just going to keep on. My priorities for next council, are to ensure that we have the necessary police, bylaw service, and to control crime and public mischief. Other priorities: to work with social housing agencies, to build supportive housing, to get the vulnerable, homeless people away from the troublemakers that are causing the crime and the mischief. To create more housing for young working families and our seniors, we need to do that so that they stay in Cranbrook as opposed to leave us. And also more housing to attract more trades and professionals, i.e. including doctors.
And sorry, that
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Peabody, please.
All right, thank you. My name is Mike Peabody. I've seen immense growth and change in Cranbrook since I was elected 5 years ago. A lot of this was positive, and some of it wasn't. I will say that our city staff has accomplished so much. They worked incredibly hard to attain the goals that the senior staff, mayor, and council set throughout the last term. We have strong workforce and credible leadership within the city that is dedicated to making Cranbrook better. I'm optimistic about our future, and I want to be part of that journey. I am mindful of the areas of collective concern with our community. Throughout Cranbrook, drug poisoning deaths are increasing, crime is on the rise, and we have a larger vulnerable population of people living rough. Additionally, Cranbrook doesn't have adequate supportive housing for our vulnerable population. As a community and as a local government, we must come together to tackle these issues. Providing food and safe supportive housing is the first step. Only when these needs are met and there is access to comprehensive, evidence-based treatment services can mental health and addiction be treated. I have carved a niche on council as someone who asks solid questions and consults with experts before sharing my perspective. I do this because I want to make sure every decision we make, every vote cast, is informed and balanced. My attitude in City Council reflects my approach as an interpreter. As a member of City Council, I am continuously inspired by the potential to contribute to meaningful and impactful projects. My goals with City Council are to build mutually respectful relationships with community members, positively contribute to an inclusive work environment, and balance the need for growth and consistency in all sectors of community development, safety, and governance. I work hard to be the best City Councilor that I can be, and I promise to continue to do that if re-elected. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just start with a quick mic check.
We can hear you.
And we're glad you are, Mike. I hope you'll start my time over. Kisikukwit, I want to start by recognizing that we live, work, and play in the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa people. Thank you, JCI, Key City Theatre, and you for making tonight happen. You're going to have an opportunity to hear about my priorities over the next hour, and I also have copies of my handout available. So for now, I want to focus on key factors to being a good public servant and political leader. First off, you should actually like people and like helping them, and demonstrate that by being accessible. As mayor, I invited people to bring a bag lunch and meet me at City Hall. As member of Parliament, I encouraged constituents to meet with me in local coffee shops. We need to care about every citizen and be accessible to them. We must respect one another. If you and I agreed on everything all the time, one of us isn't required. We learn and grow from having respectful conversations together. You can achieve more with handshakes than by pointing fingers. As your MP, I always showed respect to federal government ministers, so I still have access to a number of them today. Several of my former colleagues are now BC government cabinet ministers. You have a much better chance of being successful on behalf of your community if you build positive relationships with leaders in all levels of government. During the 32 years we have lived in Cranbrook, I have served as chair, director, or volunteer with 13 different societies and organizations, and with minor hockey and ball. My wife Audrey has also been active in a number of boards and musical groups. We need to care about our community whether we are in politics or not. My sincere thanks to all of you who volunteer your time to make Cranbrook a better place. I share these because it is important to understand who we are as individuals. I look forward to sharing my priorities and answering your questions. Thank you.
Kisuk Kukit. My name is Lynette Ray, and I'm running to represent you on Cranbrook City Council. My husband and I love living in Cranbrook. We feel so fortunate to be raising our family here in this beautiful part of Amakas Ktunaxa. We enjoy the network of local bike trails, time on the ice playing hockey, the vibrant and growing arts scene, and the businesses and services in our downtown core and throughout our community. 25 years of working in the local nonprofit sector have given me unique insight into the many community services that make our community a great place to live. As an experienced nonprofit professional, it's my job to carefully steward donor dollars, and I will bring that experience to the council table. I'm honored to sit as a director on the board of the East Kootenay Community Credit Union, where I've gained 6 years of real-world experience in governance. I'm also a member of the Cranbrook Sunrise Rotary Club, including serving as club president. As the largest center in the Kootenays, the City of Cranbrook needs and deserves excellent governance and leadership. I will use my skills, knowledge, and experience to ensure that thorough due diligence, appropriate oversight, transparent decision-making, and communication are the norm around the council table. I will work to grow and enhance a positive, proactive, and professional organizational culture. This includes contributing to a productive working relationship between council and management, embracing diversity, creativity, and innovation, and ensuring that city staff have the skills and resources they need to provide excellent customer service. Housing and homelessness are clearly high priority concerns for our community. These are complex problems that cannot be solved by any one agency or organization alone. We need to work together to identify and implement multi-pronged, solution-focused strategies. This includes creating collaborative, effective working relationships in order to offer a variety of affordable, attainable, and supportive housing options. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and good evening. I would also like to thank JCI for hosting this event this evening. I'd like to open with the question that I started with when I began my campaign. How might your life be better with a government that works for you? One that embraces collaboration and cooperation. One that focuses on what it can do, not what it can't. One where everyone feels that their voice is heard, and where no one feels left out. I look forward to having a conversation over the next hour and telling you more about it. Thank you again for coming.
Good evening. I wanted to start by saying thank you to JCI, like everybody else has, for coming here tonight, and for you for coming here tonight. Municipal government has a direct impact on the local population, and so it is important to find out more about who you elect and what we can actually do as municipal governors. So thank you for investing some time in this tonight. My name's Norma Blissett. I've lived in Cranbrook for almost 30 years, raised 3 children here, and I now have 2 grandchildren who live in this community. I'm invested in the present and the future of Cranbrook. I began my working life as a forester, and then I became a teacher, and I now work at Mount Baker Secondary School part-time. I've been on Cranbrook City Council for the last 8 years, and I would like to have your vote so that I can continue working on your behalf for the next 4 years. I've learned a lot while being on City Council. The city is like a big ship. It turns gradually, but it does turn. And as city councilors, we can have an influence on the direction of that turn. We make decisions that impact things like downtown redevelopment, how social groups are funded in town. We make decisions at budget time which affect what projects get done, and then of course how much you have to pay in municipal taxes. I'm pleased with my record on council. I have voted in favor of multifamily housing, downtown revitalization, and locating the soccer dome in Belmont Park. I would like to continue to work to improve the quality of life for all Cranbrook citizens, and
that's
so
time.
I'm asking for your vote in this election.
So wonderful round of introductions from everybody. Let's get another round of applause for your candidates, please. We're going to start now with the Q&A. We got hundreds of questions in, and we're happy to go through as many as we can. And we're going to start with Mr. Graham here on the left. Oh, it's a big one. That's not worded well. All right, we're going to dive right into it. What is the plan? I would like to know what a plan of action is from all candidates regarding homelessness, crime, and drugs that are all now major issues in Cranbrook. Yeah, we'll start with that, please.
All right, thank you. I will do my best to answer that in 1 minute. I think with homelessness, we need to collaborate and take a lead with organizations that are in the community as well as the province to work on getting the proper housing we need. For crime, I believe we need to work with the RCMP, and we need to deal with the issues that we see in our community, as well as getting a task force together with our bylaw officers and hire increased bylaw, as Councilor Price had mentioned, and it's something that I've been talking about as well for the last 6 months. And it kind of stems into drug use. I think that we need some opportunities to see some more detox beds and work with the province to get those beds in our community so we can help get people off the streets and not addicted to drugs.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was great. Everyone's keeping on time. So amazing. Yeah. Yeah. 1 minute for Mr. Popoff, please.
Thank you. So I traveled to UBCM with Mayor Pratt and our CAO, and the successful communities, if they are having success, is they said you have to have a strong social housing base in your community to put the vulnerable people away and in those social housing environments so that they're safe, and get them away from the troublemakers. Once you have them away from the troublemakers, you can use your bylaw, your police, and maybe some social agencies doing patrols to control and move along and deal with the crime and the criminals and the troublemakers. And then, of course, we heard from the urban mayors where 60 or so prolific offenders were creating over 2,600 crimes and back on the streets. So if we can't get them back into rehabilitation services, I don't know how that's going to end up, but we have to work at it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Stetsky, please.
Three very important issues that we need to be dealing with, and it starts with having a home. If you do not have a home, everything else, it becomes very, very difficult to do. And so we really need to work on finding and putting together small homes, and a number of communities have done it. There's some great examples in the poverty report that Cranbrook has just completed. If you haven't read it, you should. There's some great examples of what you can do to put small homes in place and get people off the streets and keep them safe. Mental health, a very difficult issue. At one point, we did have an RCMP officer in Cranbrook who specialized in mental health issues because they are different from criminal issues and they needed to be treated separately. The Foundry will hopefully help with our youth, but we need far more psychiatric help here in Cranbrook. And the third one,
That's time.
we certainly need to deal with the criminal element.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, everybody, 1 second.
So do I get 2 more seconds?
You just used them. Mr. Popoff, what are your plans for the general public?
Plans for the general public. The theme, my theme for the third term, obviously we've got to deal with the homeless crime issues and housing, but my big priority for this next term, it's on the big category of livability. You're going to hear terms of vibrancy and downtown revitalization and everything else, but livability kind of captures everything. How we want to improve our livability as residents, as workers, as business, as tourists to Cranbrook. That's going to have a long-term plan for how we continue to grow and prosper here in our community. Livability for how we want to continue to create vibrancy downtown. We've had some huge success downtown recently, and there's more opportunities to happen that way. Livability so our young children and our seniors want to stay in Cranbrook, and livability so we can attract trades and professionals to relocate to Cranbrook, including doctors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the other councillors like to follow up on that? Ms. Ray.
So in terms of the general public, for me, that really ties into excellent governance around the council table and an excellent working relationship with really council's only employee is our CAO. So we have to really ensure that we're bringing our A game to the governance work that we do. And it matters not only the decisions we're making, it also matters how we're making those decisions. So we need to look at all options, we need to look at the pros and cons, but we need to be transparent about it, be fully willing to communicate and engage with our fellow community members. And those are areas where we have room for improvement. So good governance, it's going to benefit the general public.
Thank you. Anyone else? There's room for one more on there. Mr. Peabody.
Thank you, Dave. General public, what issues have been affecting us for the last 4 years? The smell from the sewage lagoons. That is one that we are currently tackling, and that is definitely one that we're going to have to stay on top of. One thing the current council, or the previous council, which pretty much stayed the same, implemented was a 1% dedicated road tax. So that was a 1% tax increase each year to go to our roads program. That's been huge, and if anything the general public is going to benefit from is less potholes and less car repairs. Councillor Popoff, he commented on the more vibrant downtown. I think that is huge. We have the downtown master plan that we are currently working on. It's going to be finished here soon, and getting a more vibrant downtown, more people living downtown is going to be great for our city.
Thank you. And the next question is for Mr. Peabody. How will you address food security in Cranbrook? Is bringing forward food policy important to you within the next 4 years?
That's a good question. As far as food security goes, in recent history, Cranbrook has a food recovery program that has, I think in the first year, recovered over 100,000 pounds of food that would have normally gone to waste. We have a food bank that has just moved into a new location and is under new management, and they're doing a great job of getting food to the people that need it. Sorry, what was the last part of the question? Was the policy on?
Is bringing forward a food policy important to you within the next 4 years?
I have never been brought forth the idea of bringing forward a food policy. So that is something I can't really comment on. It is something I would be open to discussing and making sure there's a need for it before I would bring it to council and propose that idea. Thank you.
Mr. Stetsky.
As Mike mentioned, we have an excellent food bank here in Cranbrook and an excellent food recovery process and people in place. One of the things I was thinking of a while ago was, we should have a look at vacant city land around Cranbrook and see if we can turn them into more local gardens so that you don't have to drive across town to use some of the gardens. We are the sunniest city in British Columbia, and solar energy is absolutely on the increase everywhere. We can start a greenhouse industry here in Cranbrook. I know that because I spoke with the head of Save-On a number of years ago and asked him if he would support that if we got it going in Cranbrook, and he said absolutely. Food security is the issue for the future. We need to take it seriously, and I think we should have a plan for Cranbrook around food security.
Prior to COVID, I wasn't that concerned about food security. And then when COVID hit and I walked into the grocery store and it was nearly empty, I sort of became panicky. And it brought it home to me how important that is. And we are dependent on imports. So we can grow our own food. We have waste energy from our sewage treatment. And that is an opportunity for us to heat greenhouses. Because yes, we're sunny, but greenhouses need heat. And they do get some from the sun, but overall, it is you need heat to keep the greenhouses going. So we do have that at our sewage treatment plant. We would have to look into that and think about that for the future.
This appears to be a two-part question, or it's just very poorly formed. The city has given landlords with basement suites until February 2023 to apply to bring in any basement suites up to current building codes. Upgrades that would cost most suites about $20,000. Given the super tight rental market and the climbing costs of rental as a whole, would potential candidates look at grandfathering in these suites if egress standards in case of fire are met? Apologies. Would potential candidates look at grandfathering in these suites? Yeah, Mr. Stesky, sorry.
I think it's something that we need to look at, but we have to make sure that any secondary suites are safe, first and foremost. We don't want to put people into an unsafe situation. But I think we need to look beyond that to building affordable housing in Cranbrook for everyone. Lack of affordable housing is actually keeping businesses from being more successful here in Cranbrook. We've already talked a bit about homelessness, and of course anybody looking for a suite of any kind of rent right now, it's very, very difficult. So we need to get more affordable housing built in Cranbrook. We need to also look about going up rather than out in many of our new buildings going forward. The suites are just one aspect of housing. I think we can look at it. It's a difficult issue, but they have to be safe.
Thank you. Would anybody like to expand? I kind of stumbled through that question as it was a little difficult. I can repeat it if necessary. No? Mr. Peabody.
Thank you, David. I think my answer for that question is absolutely not. I think there would be a lot of liability on the city if we allowed people to live in residences that don't meet the building code. If there ever was something that happened where someone was injured, and it turns out the city staff signed off on someone to live in that residence, even though it didn't meet building code, I feel like the city would be liable. And I don't think that's a smart decision.
Thank you. This is right. Apologies. Not surprised to see this question. The deer population is having more than one impact on the city. What has to happen before action is taken? Does the 5% animal lovers, that's not appropriate. There's way more words on here than I'm going to say. But do you want to?
The question is deer.
Do you please want to address the deer within city limits, please?
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
So certainly this is an important issue for our city, and there are differing opinions on this issue. There's definitely a safety concern. There's lots of folks on Facebook talking about close encounters with deer. I had one myself, and anyways, it's a challenging situation. I know that the province is responsible for managing wildlife, but I do believe as the city, we need to turn up our advocacy on this issue and fully explore all options with our provincial counterparts. Thank you.
Please.
Just wanted to add something to that. The deer issue is something that's close to my heart and my mind because we do have a lot of deer in the area of the city where I live. I walk by deer every day when I am going to work. And one of the challenges that I find with an issue like the deer is every time there is an unfortunate event, of course it is talked about, and then the talking about is talked about, and so on and so on and so on. So when we are addressing the issue, we have to make sure that we are addressing the issue, not the issue that we are talked about, or that is talked about. So we need to get good information. Is this something that is happening every week, every month, or a few times a season?
And that's
because that's going to determine what the appropriate solutions are.
Please.
So deer have been an issue for a long time in Cranbrook. We did do a cull for, 3 years? And it was largely unsuccessful. In fact, more deer were being taken out by the conservation officers because they were injured than we were taking out with the cull. So years ago, I had a guest speaker in my classroom who was an expert on wildlife. And he said, if wildlife, it's all about food, 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 and then shelter and space. So I do think what we can do is look at the food supply in town. We can have a program where we work with landowners to decrease the food supply and then see if that can have an impact because they will go with the food. We're putting out a platter of delicious plants for them every year, and that's why they're coming to town.
Thank you. There's a little bit of controversy. Sorry, this one's for Jeremy. There's a little bit of controversy. No one wants a shelter to be at the current proposed location. I don't know about nobody. If not there, then where? Getting a permanent location is taking too long. What would you do to move this along and get homelessness to a long-term location? That's the question.
Okay, thank you. There's actually 2 or 3 questions there all at the same time.
It is.
I personally have no problem with the proposed shelter as where they want it to be. And I say that as someone who works and spends a lot of time downtown. One of the things that I think gets lost when we are talking about the homeless issue, the crime issue, the addict issue, is these are people. And we need to treat them as people. And we need to find out what they need to have the best life possible that they can have. And one of those things is the services that they need to succeed. And guess where those services are? They're not in the industrial area. They're not in the residential areas.
And that's time.
They're downtown.
Thank you. Would anyone like to further expand on the location? Mr. Popov.
Thanks, David. I did support the shelter. The Chamber of Commerce, the School District Board, and the Boys and Girls Club executive all stated us to letters that they wanted it there, or that at least we needed a temporary shelter. It was also supposed to be temporary for 3 years, at which time BC Housing came to council and said they're looking for a longer, bigger solution for a temporary homeless shelter, supportive housing, and then subsidized social housing to have the whole suite of continuous care, safety, and counseling for the vulnerable population. That's what I bought into. That's what I'm still hoping our ongoing discussions are going to be with BC Housing and other social agencies, so we have the right location with the suite of social services for our vulnerable populations.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? This Bissett at the end there. I would like to ask them all what their plans would be for showing support for Sam Steele Days, which is the city's festival and brings in a ton of money into this community over the 4 days with hotels, restaurants, camping, liquor, sporting, and other type of events.
I think that's enough of a question.
It's, yeah. They feel that they don't get enough support from Cranbrook city officials.
Okay, well, currently, City Council has supported Sam Steele Days in a number of ways. We've contributed financially to the Sam Steele organization and in helping to support the parade and events, where our city workers help to prepare the Belmont Park and the areas downtown where the events occur. And we also contribute money to the Sam Steele Sweetheart program. I myself and other councilors and the mayor have attended the Sweetheart events and other events around Sam Steele Days. We're in the parade, and I do think we support it, and I'm sure they could use more money. So they would have to ask for it and see what else they need. But at this point, I think we are doing a good job in supporting it.
Thank you. Expanded thoughts on Sam Steele Days? No? Please, Mr. Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I think Sam Steele Days is awesome, and really began to, like, I appreciated it more this year after 2 years of not having much of anything coming out of COVID. And the way it brings the community together, it brings out-of-town people to Cranbrook is something that it can't be lost. It is an event that needs to continue, and I am in full support of Sam Steele Days. The volunteerism base is changing, whether it's Sam Steele Days or whether it's other events in the communities. But when you can reinvigorate people and get them excited about a weekend and get them to come out and put their time in, I think that's important. Outdoor music, you've got bocce, there's softball, there's so much it brings to the community as well as soccer. So I think it's invaluable, and it's a great thing for Cranbrook.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to quickly support what Councilor Bissett mentioned, when an organization gets everything they ask for, I don't know how we can further support them. I think Council is doing a great job.
Yeah. Going to go back to the start here with Mr. Graham. This concerns Western Financial Place. There's a whole paragraph here, but it's closed too often, and there's not enough opportunity for people in the community to use the swimming pool. It's extremely important to the community. Please, someone find a solution to the swimming pool. Fix it right now. will you be able to look into this problem? And is there a permanent solution around the bend? Or is it just a standard maintenance concern?
All right, yeah, thank you. And I guess it's all pool related. And a lot of the closures that have happened over the past few years, part of it has been a staffing issue, and it boils down to lifeguards. And with COVID, there hasn't been the training, and it's been harder to find qualified lifeguards to be at the pool. And we see that throughout multiple communities in the province. So we aren't alone in that. And also with some of the maintenance, and we just got back, I think I read it just a little bit ago, that the pool's back online again. But with the maintenance breakdowns, it's been trouble getting parts. And it's a supply chain issue right now, and hopefully that gets sorted out. But I definitely agree that the pool is a great asset, and it's utilized by lots of different groups in town and out of town, and ways that we can maybe stockpile a few extra parts or do something to make sure that we have it ready to go, so if something does break, we might be able to get it fixed and back online sooner.
Cool. Thank you. I believe we still have another about 15 minutes or so of questions. Yeah. Anyone else like to comment on the swimming pool? No. Mr. Popoff, other than rental subsidies for the seniors, what else do you have, especially for low-income seniors, that don't qualify for rental subsidies, i.e. for those living in condos? It's a hard changeover.
Well,
swimming
yeah,
pool
thank
question.
you. I'll take the swimming pool one again. But seriously, for rental subsidies for seniors or rental subsidies for our vulnerable populations in general, I'm not saying seniors are vulnerable populations, but do we want, that's not a city taxpayer job to take city taxpayer dollars and I think put towards senior subsidies. I mean, it's our role to work with our social agencies that also do supportive or affordable housing for our senior populations. What we really have to do is, again, work with our social housing agencies to get them to the table to recognize what our plethora of needs are in our community for the people that need social supports and financial supports so they can stay and live and retire here in Cranbrook. So working with our social agencies is where we really have to go. Thank you.
Mrs. Bissett at the end.
One thing I think this council has done well over the last 2 terms is increase multifamily housing. And in doing so, as some of it is still coming online, then we've increased the supply of housing. And when we increase the supply of housing, then there can be more some of the newer places might be more expensive, but some of our existing apartments will be lower priced. And so that does provide more options for people. I do think just the basic supply and demand, and I think we've done a good job of increasing the supply, and we will continue to.
Thank you. And Mr. Setsky.
Seniors built this great community of ours, and we owe them everything, quite frankly. There was a report released just in September here from the Seniors Advocate for BC, and some of the recommendations that she made were to increase awareness of the property tax deferral program and examine an expansion of the program for low and modest income seniors, provide an annual province-wide bus pass for all seniors, that develop a comprehensive plan to build the capacity of senior centers across BC to better support social engagement. Government of Canada has lots of money available, quite frankly, under their in-home support pilot project. Municipalities can apply to up to $800,000 to benefit senior programming in their community, and we need to be on top of that kind of thing.
Thank you.
We also need to make sure that our sidewalks are senior accessible all through Cranbrook.
Do we have time for an additional rebuttal? No, expanded? Sorry. Mr. Peabody. Do you support increasing the number of constables in the detachment in Cranbrook?
Thank you, David. 100% I do, but at the same time, I feel like council's hands are tied in that regard. The provincial government only allows us to have so many constables on duty, and we are currently maxed out in that. The issue that we have right now is a number of those constables are on leave, either for disability or one reason or another. So what we need to do is try to find ways to expedite their recovery and get them back, either into the office or boots on the ground. So I wish the answer was like, yes, I could put more money into this resource and have more constables out there, but unfortunately our hands are tied in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you. Graham, and then Mr. Papa.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just to build on what Councilor Peabody was saying, in a way, we did increase. We did ask for 2 more constables, and we did approve it in the budget 2 years ago. We wanted to go from 26 to 28. That went in the budget, and we have yet to see them come out of the RCMP. We've even got a letter from the public safety minister saying, thank you, and when we can get them to you, you will get them. And that's the problem, is they don't have enough officers coming out of depot. And it stems back to during COVID, they didn't have anybody in training. So we do have the capacity, we do have the budget. It is there to bring in those 2 officers once we can get them. So I definitely am supportive. I supported that motion to get us 2 more officers. But until then, we have the watch clerk positions that we filled, that was mentioned earlier, and hopefully that will alleviate some of the paperwork that our RCMP officers are having to do, so they can get out onto the street.
Thank you. And Mr. Papa.
Well, we've just heard the reasons why we not necessarily can increase the actual number of RCMP. Both Mayor Pratt and Councillor Graham just mentioned the watch clerks. We've hired 3 of those for the 3 shifts. They're the ones that are going to take over the burden of a lot of the paperwork, so we can have boots on the ground of RCMP out there doing the work that they need to do and want to do, as opposed to doing paperwork. The other thing was, we now are bringing on our mental health liaison RCMP officer to work again out on the streets and work with the vulnerable populations that are in need of not policing necessarily, but that liaison mental health role with our RCMP staff, all the way through to medical treatments and everything else. So those are 2 valuable resources we have and we are doing so that we can keep our RCMP out there on the streets and functional.
Mr. Stetsky. Climate crisis is upon us. Do you believe this? And if so, do you feel the recent planning surveys, economic analysis, sorts of exercises have adequately gathered information to inform yourself and planners on how to best prepare infrastructure, schools, and green spaces to meet the challenges clearly coming our way?
Well, climate action, of course, is near and dear to my heart, and municipalities can have a major impact and influence on climate. Some of the things we can do, and this is also part of the OCP update in terms of what the community would like to see, make our communities more bike and pedestrian friendly with bike lanes, secure parking, downtown blocks potentially open to pedestrians only, change zoning to increase density, examine public transportation, change over to electric buses, advance the building step code so that more energy efficient homes are built. And there are many, many grants. One of the roles I think the city should have is to send us a list of all of the different grants that are available from the federal government, the provincial government, the Columbia Basin Trust, from Fortis and BC Hydro, on how we can all make our homes more energy efficient with large grants.
That's your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, that was 3 of 12 things I wanted to say about climate action.
Yeah, that's a loaded one. Is there anyone else that would like to expand? Jeremy, please.
if I can just steal some of Mr. Stutsky's time. One of the nice things about dealing with climate issues is even if you believe that they're not necessarily necessary, they can all be very valuable. A walkable city benefits everyone no matter what. A city with significantly more foliage benefits everyone no matter what. And these, I think, are the type of things that we should be doing one way or the other. And if it can help benefit the climate, all the better.
Mrs. Ray.
Oh, sorry. I was just ready for my question.
Oh. Mr. Popoff will take it.
Oh, can I? So climate action. I think something that we've been remiss is we have a very professional committee called the East Kootenay Climate Hub here in Cranbrook, Kimberley. And they are non-political, objective group of people that have time to time given us, the council, and primarily our senior staff, advice on a lot of the grants, the resources, best practice ideas that we as municipalities can start to consider, apply for the funding, and also initiate going forward. I mean, frankly, I would love to see next council create a climate energy efficiency committee to city council and have this group with others really take climate action serious and our energy issues so we can better plan going forward into the livable future.
Within the city limits, in the existing cycling lanes, any possibilities to improve the designated lanes as cars and trucks drives too close to users in order to avoid fatal Is there a plan for cyclists and motorists to better share the road?
Okay.
Within the community of Cranbrook?
Thank you. So certainly cycling is very important and is growing. As a member of Cranbrook Sunrise Rotary, one of our key activities is around cycling in terms of the Rails to Trails and the Grand Fondo. So certainly, you know, I think it would be important for the city to explore and I know we've been working on it, you know, what are our current bike lane resources? Let's get some feedback. I know recently there was an accident where a cyclist was hit on 7th Ave, I think. A few years ago, I worked with a young man who was cycling and hit by a vehicle, unfortunately was okay. So absolutely, cycling safety is important, and I would be interested in gathering more information, feedback from cyclists and motorists, and see what we can do to do a better job.
So currently the city is working on an active transportation plan. Part of that is also putting bike racks in different locations so people have a place to leave and lock their bike up to. But I do think some of the work that will come out of that is that I think the research shows that cyclists feel safest when there's actually a division between them and the vehicles. And in other cities, what they've done is put in, you know, those cement barriers that you see in parking lots, and they've put those along the bike lanes so that there is actually a physical barrier. So we might want to consider that on our busier roads. I'm a cyclist, but most of the roads I ride on are, you know, secondary, so it's not much of an issue. But on the main roads, it can be.
Responses and rebuttals. Jeremy, please.
Since I got the mic anyway, I just want to add to what Councilor Brissette said. As someone who cycles, I have a family who they all cycle, and it doesn't take cycling very long to discover that paint does not always make people stay out of your lane. So we do need to do a better job of keeping the cyclists safe with physical barriers. I would also add to that, we need more opportunities throughout the city for non-motorized cars, or non-motorized vehicles paths, like the Rotary Trail.
Mr. Setsky.
Just very quickly, Audrey and I do a fair bit of cycling, and we absolutely need to have improved safety on a number of our roads, but it doesn't have to be expensive. Kimberly, for example, just uses some cones and some rope, actually, to section off a piece of the road. And the top end of 14th Avenue, for example, would be a great place for that kind of thing. So we can and should do better, and it doesn't have to be expensive.
So we are at 9 o'clock, but I think in fairness to everyone, I mean, there's 2 more candidates that could use questions. We've got time for this. This was a question that we had a lot come in. So this was, as much as these questions are random, we had 2 that were asked a lot of. Again, I asked the mayoral candidates this earlier. What is to become of the city campground?
I was about to say that I would give a very fast answer on this, but I'm going to have to change my mind, actually, a little more detailed. I've spoken to a lot of people that work and live downtown who make tourism their career, and the benefits of having a downtown campground are clear. Ask any business downtown what the benefit of 150 new people every week is to their business. Municipal owned campgrounds are not unusual. There are a fair number in BC. But even beyond that, there's a broader question of that area of the city no longer being what it used to be. Think about the fact that Baker House is right there, and it's not a resource anymore. It's a doctor's office. And I don't want the city campground to fall into the same problem.
Thank you. Please.
So one of the things I think we need to do, this is a public space, and so what I would like us to do in the next term, whoever is elected, is to put forth some options with the cost of the options and the benefits, so that the public can have a look at, an option of housing on part of the property, an option of the campground, or maybe maybe there's something else that I haven't thought of. But then we'd have open houses. We'd actually collect some data on what the owners of this land think, because we don't have that data now. We have what we think, we have what maybe a few of our friends think. So we need to get that to have it make an informed decision about the future of that public land.
Thank you. Thank you. Was there anyone else? Mr. Setsky, please.
So my preference would have been to keep it as a campground. We certainly need to keep it as a green space, and I understand part of it has been rezoned for that. And I liked Wayne Price's suggestion that maybe we try and keep it in a condition that future generations in Cranbrook can make some decisions on. If we were going to make a decision now, I would actually like to see it become a senior apartment complex. It's right next door to the senior center. Make them nice apartments so that seniors who want to leave their homes right now but can't find a place that they want to live really want to move to. And we've got the senior center right next door to provide those services. So preference would have been a campground, but a senior center right there would make a lot of sense to me if we have, a senior complex, apartment complex would make a lot of sense right there if we were going to do something with it now.
And final question.
I was thinking it was.
How would you like to best approach crime reduction in the city?
Well, working with the RCMP, they are the experts in dealing with crime, and they have a lot of knowledge on what we can do to help the community reduce the hazard at their buildings or for their businesses. And so just really the city can be involved in facilitating that interaction. As other members of the existing council have mentioned, we did fund additional positions for the watch clerks to make RCMP more available. And truly, as a city, part of our job is making the town more vibrant and more inclusive of all our people. And in that way, improving the quality of life for everyone. And as a side benefit, there would be crime reduction with that. So that's what I would say.
Would anybody like to take a minute to expand on our voice? I think this is Rick.
I believe we have untapped potential in terms of the city's leadership on this issue. So if crime is a symptom of the issue, but I think we need to take a step back, and we really do need to have the city lead the way and bring together the key stakeholders, the Ktunaxa Nation, nonprofits, the business community, the RCMP. The city can convene that table to come together and look at the issues in a holistic way and work together to find the best strategies that we can try to move forward. And we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let's look at best practices from other communities. Let's adapt them to our community. So the city has untapped potential in terms of leadership, and we need to do that now.
Final rebuttal on that topic? No? Okay. Now we're going to move into closing statements. So each candidate is going to get 2 minutes, and we're going to start with Mr. Graham here at the end for a closing statement. Oh, we go the other way? They're nodding to go the other way. Okay. Please.
Well, thank you. So Cranbrook is a wonderful place to live. We're blessed with a beautiful natural environment, and we have most, if not all, of the services that we need. We have big box stores, but we still have an active downtown. I'm grateful to those entrepreneurs who have invested in our community, and I plan on supporting them into the future. Of course, there are things we can improve upon. We need to fix and replace our aging infrastructure. We need to support additional housing, especially downtown. We need to grow our economy, and we need to address the issues concerning our unhoused population. We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and reduce the wildfire hazard in order to protect our city into the future. I became involved in politics because I think it is the most direct way to bring about positive change. We need to have leadership at City Hall to work with all the various groups in order to build a vibrant, inclusive, and supportive community for all of our citizens. We need to have a variety of people with different work and life experiences to represent the citizens of Cranbrook and to bring their needs to the council table. We need people who will listen, search out the best information, and make decisions for the greater good. I'm a practical, decisive, and approachable person. You can count on me to listen and act on behalf of the people of Cranbrook. I will bring a focused energy to get things done at City Hall, and I ask for your vote in this election. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. You heard a lot of information from the candidates on this stage, and so I'm going to keep things really simple, and I'm going to leave you with one important point. And it was inspired actually by an event at Kootenai Orchard Elementary School that I went to yesterday morning. And it's this: never let a politician ever tell you, ever again, that there's nothing they can do to solve a problem. They might have to think a little bit harder. They might have to work with people that they're not used to working with. And sometimes They might even need to do something that they don't want to do. But it doesn't matter what the issue is. There is always something that can be done. There are always opportunities. An opportunity was what brought me to the city 12 years ago. And if you are kind enough to give me your vote, I will offer you a better opportunity in return. Thank you.
Here in Cranbrook and beautiful Amakas Tunaha, we're facing a number of key challenges, including concerns about city governance, the multifaceted problems of housing and homelessness, climate change, aging infrastructure, shortage of family doctors, limited daycare availability. It's a daunting list. Cranbrook is at a crossroads. We can choose new approaches and new ideas. In this election, we can choose to embrace inclusion, recognizing that Cranbrook's diversity is one of our key strengths, including all age groups, genders, sexual orientations, cultural backgrounds, and abilities. We need to value, recognize, and tap into this pool of diversity to enrich and improve our community. We can choose to commit to our vision of livable, sustainable growth for Cranbrook, supporting our local economy while also preserving our natural environment. Seeking partners in the for-profit and not-for-profit sector who support our vision and will help us create the Cranbrook we see for our children and grandchildren. We can choose to truly leverage the city's capacity to lead, to bring key stakeholders to the table to find creative, collaborative solutions to the challenges we face, learning from the best practices from other communities and adapting them to Cranbrook. We can choose to become champions of excellent governance, ensuring that thorough due diligence, appropriate oversight, and transparent decision-making and communication are fully integrated into all aspects of the city of Cranbrook. We can choose to work together to make Cranbrook an even better place to live, work, and play. This is an important election. For a fresh perspective and a fresh voice, please vote Lynette Ray for Cranbrook City Council. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening, and thank you to my fellow candidates here for being willing to put themselves forward into public service. You are very much appreciated. We covered a number of priorities this evening, but I want to just summarize my priorities for Cranbrook and for you. Ensuring every citizen has a voice at City Hall and we are accessible to our citizens. Affordable housing, including for those living in poverty. More family doctors. Crime reduction. Action on climate change. Smart growth city planning, which we haven't talked about tonight. Strengthening our relationship with the Tunaha. Fixing the streets. Accessible sidewalks for seniors and for people with disabilities in wheelchairs. Encourage small and medium-sized businesses. Costco is not coming to Cranbrook. Support the arts, music, and sporting events. Ensure that Cranbrook is not only a place to live, but is a livable place. And to me, it's the addition of arts, music, and cultural events that make Cranbrook a livable place. Now, it's important when you're electing a city council that you look carefully at what knowledge and experience each candidate will bring to the team. And Cranbrook City Council is a team. So I encourage you to kind of look down the row today and decide what knowledge and experience you think would add to the team. With your support and your vote, I want to represent you on that team on October 15th. If you would like to chat, please contact me by phone or email or stop me on the street. And if you need a ride to the polls on October 12th or 15th, please let me know, and Audrey or I would be happy to drive you, and she said I could say that. Thank you again for being here this evening.
All right, I figured to spice things up, I might leave you guys here with a song. No. I will thank JCI and the fellow candidates and everyone that showed up here tonight. It is a pleasure to sit here and share our opinions and our point of views and have this opportunity. I really enjoyed the conversations that we had at the table tonight, and I hope I have the opportunity to do this for the next 4 years. I've cherished every single council meeting that I've been to. It's been a true pleasure to serve the community. And yeah, with your help, I'll be able to continue doing that. I grew up in Cranbrook. This is my home, and I wouldn't choose any other place to live and raise my family. I have pride in my town, and when you have pride in your town, that means giving back to your community. I've done this in my business, and I do it in my personal life. You can ask my fellow candidate and neighbor, Wayne Stetsky, who shovels the public walkway in our community, in our neighborhood. I want to make Cranbrook a better place than it is today. And I want to do this for my family, and I want to do it for you. I have worked hard at this job, and I promise to continue to do so if reelected. So thank you for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you, Dave. So Joanna and I moved to Cranbrook 33 years ago to continue our careers in teaching and in public health. Since then, we've raised 2 wonderful children and 3 grandchildren right here in Cranbrook, so they're not a flight risk. Also, during that time, I've been a volunteer coach for my children's different sport events, active long-term member of what was the Kinsman Club back in the day, and now, of course, a long-term member with Rotary. During my 8 years on council, I've participated on, 5 or 6 different boards and still active on a few. Next council, we need to address our homeless and crime challenges, our housing needs, and enhance our lifestyle vibrancy so locals and visitors know that we are a great place to live, work, and play. Next council, we will also be making important decisions on our future. How do we plan our community? How do we revitalize our downtown? How do we enhance our active transportation? How do we become a tourist destination? How do we address climate action? Cranbrook has been discovered, and we need experienced people on council to navigate our present and future prosperity. So I guess what I'm telling you is I'm all in. I'm all in, making Cranbrook a growing, prosperous, and livable community to raise our families, to start a business, and to retire, not just for today, but for my grandchildren in the near future. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and also thank you, JCI, for hosting this forum. Cranbrook is a great place to live, and I want to leave you with this. Over the past 2 terms, we've seen a lot of work done in Cranbrook. Investment into our roads and infrastructure, support for housing, and it's been great. It's brought us to a place where we can have more conversations about the health and vision of a community, and it doesn't always revolve around roads. It gives us opportunity now to roll out a new OCP. The official community plan is a place for all citizens to have their say in a 20-year outlook for the community and shape where Cranbrook is heading. We can create vibrant neighborhoods, encourage high-density development, and community gathering spaces. The groundwork that has been done gives us the ability to see this come to reality. The downtown is also under a master plan review, and this is a document that needs to be completed and implemented, and not just another plan that sits on the shelf. We are seeing more activity in our downtown, and I want to encourage more mixed-use development in the core of our city. Working with our current landowners and investors to build and invest in their property is key. We've already seen what some of that investment does, from the Fire Hall Kitchen and Tap, Fenwick and Baker, a renovated Hideout restaurant, just to mention a few. Clearly, I like food. This brings people into the downtown. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention the vision of a revamped Armin Theatre and the passion behind its renovation. It takes time, but there is progress, and these investments encourage others to look downtown as it is the place to be. The future is bright, and I would like your support around the table as we are casting our vision for this great community. Thank you. On October 12th and 15th, vote for Wes Graham.
I think a continued round of applause for the candidates this evening is deserved. That brings everything to a close. Really want to thank all the volunteers who helped put this together. This is going to be on JCI Kootenai's YouTube page so that you can watch and re-listen to all the answers that all the candidates gave and help you better make your decisions. Watch me fumble through my first time as a moderator. I hope I did an okay job. And to follow up on what Mr. Graham just said, don't just go vote. Go vote. Get out there, have your voices be heard, encourage other people around you to go vote. It's really important for the community that you live in, that you have a voice that is heard. Thank you.